Government in Lebanon gives an investigative committee 4 days to determine responsibility for the Tuesday devastating explosion in Beirut port. China says it's opposed to a U.S. proposal to extend an arms embargo on Iran, which will come to an end in October 2020. Facebook and Twitter removed President Trump's posts over his false claims that children are immune to the novel coronavirus. Welcome to World News here in the Iranian capital. I'm your host, Sirjan. Good to have you with us. Now, Lebanon has set up an investigative committee giving the 4 days to determine the cause of the devastating explosion in Beirut. The government saying that perpetrators will be severely punished. Search and rescue operations are underway at the site of the Tuesday blast, which has left 137 people dead and at least 5,000 others wounded. Doctors Without Borders has likened the humanitarian fallout to that of Lebanon's 15-year civil war that lasted until 1919. Officials blame negligence for the incident, which was caused by a huge stockpile of highly explosive materials stored for years in unsafe conditions. Meantime, the French president has visited Beirut. He promised to send aid to Lebanon. However, Macron says the aid will not go to, quote, corrupt hands. Our correspondent Mariam Saleh joined us from the Lebanese capital just an hour ago and provided us with the latest on the explosion in Beirut port.
Well, what we do know is we have around 3 workers who were said to have sealed this warehouse only hours before the fire erupted in the ammonium nitrate, causing this explosion. They have been arrested by this committee. They have been arrested, of course, by the army, and it has been the army itself has been tasked with keeping security in the area surrounding the port and in assisting the committee, the investigative committee, in any way that is needed. And their first job was yesterday, as we mentioned, to keep all those who are responsible for the port and have been responsible in the past, former authorities and current authorities since 2014. They have been put under house arrest, but we do know that there was an arrest of 3 workers who, like I said, allegedly seem to have sealed the warehouse just hours before the fire extinguished. Now, whether these allegations are true, whether what we're hearing from sources is true, is something that we need to wait and see. We should, in 4 days, receive tangible results for this investigation.
The Palestinians in the Gaza Strip have held a rally to express solidarity with Lebanon after the massive explosion rocked the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Aruba Shabbat has a report.
In a rally in the Gaza Strip, Palestinians show solidarity with Lebanon after massive explosion rocked Beirut, the capital, which left over 100 dead and thousands of others injured. Palestinians also stressed their readiness to offer help with all the capabilities they have.
I send a message of solidarity to the Lebanese to remain strong in the face of the recent plight. The sad condition of Lebanese is not too far from what the Palestinians are suffering from. Lebanon has always stood by Palestine throughout history.
I tell all Lebanese people that we are standing by you and are ready to do what it takes to help you. We offer condolences to the families of the victims.
Palestinian movements appreciated the role of Palestinian refugees in Lebanon to support the Lebanese amid this calamity. They also expressed readiness to provide support for Lebanon to overcome the tragedy.
We really appreciate what Palestinian refugees in Lebanon are doing to help and support the Lebanese people, and stress the importance of such a noble move till Lebanon gets over this calamity. Beirut has always been the symbol of resistance, and this crisis won't break it, and it will overcome what happened.
The massive explosion damaged half of Beirut. Palestinians have called on Arab and Muslim nations to stand by Lebanon and provide it with support to overcome this huge loss.
This rally comes to show support and solidarity to all Lebanese people, especially the families of the victims of this devastating explosion in Beirut. We're here in Gaza stressing that we're all united with Lebanon in a spirit of common destiny and national healing. Lebanon has called on all friendly countries to help it during the plight.
Gaza, which witnessed 3 devastating wars, is ready to help Lebanon with all possible means. Palestinians here express sorrow for Lebanon and hope Beirut will overcome this tragedy. Ruba Shabit, Gaza.
President Hassan Rouhani has offered Iran's unflinching support to Lebanon following the deadly blast in Beirut Tuesday. He said the Iranian government and people will, as always, stand by the Lebanese people. He also said that Iran will exert all efforts to help the Lebanese government provide medical and food supplies for the people of Beirut. The Iranian president made the remarks during a phone conversation with his Lebanese counterpart, Michel Aoun. Rouhani also offered Iran's condolences to the families of the victims. President Aoun said the Lebanese people have always appreciated the support and the love of the Iranian people and government. In other news, China is saying it's opposed to a U.S. proposal to extend an international arms embargo on Iran. The Chinese Foreign Ministry stressed Beijing's position after U.S. Secretary of State said that Washington would present a resolution to the Security Council next week to extend the ban. Mike Pompeo also threatened to trigger a snapback mechanism under the 2015 Iran nuclear deal to reimpose UN sanctions against Tehran. The arms embargo is set to expire on the 18th of October under the Iran deal, which the U.S. unilaterally withdrew from in 2018. Russia has also expressed opposition to the U.S. proposal. Britain, France, and Germany noted in June that they would not support any unilateral attempt to trigger the snapback mechanism. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif says that American and Israeli nuclear weapons are posing a threat to the West Asia region. In a tweet marking the anniversary of U.S. nuclear attack on Japan's Hiroshima, Zarif condemned Washington's use of nuclear arms against innocent people. He highlighted its increasing investment in nuclear weapons and urged an end to the doctrine of mutually assured destruction. Well, that refers to a full-scale use of nuclear weapons that would cause the complete annihilation of both the attacker and the defender. The United States has escalated tensions with Iran over its nuclear program. Tehran has been under the toughest UN monitoring regime, while Tel Aviv has no international obligation over its nuclear activity. Israel is believed to be in possession of several hundred nuclear warheads. A political commentator, Lawrence Davidson, says that the current U.S. and Israeli leaders do not have the sanity to be in control of nukes and can't imagine using them in a controlled or tactical way.
That's eroded. And so you get now leaders who haven't got that kind of sense of horror, and therefore the ones that, can in fact imagine the use of tactical nuclear weapons or some sort of limited exchange of nuclear weapons. And I think that, what we've got in Washington, certainly under Trump, qualifies for that sort of, lack of sanity. And I think that what you've got in Israel also qualifies for that lack of sanity. You've got potential use of these horrible weapons by people who are not quite self-restrained, who can imagine their use, and nobody's to check them. The UN has in fact failed in that regard, and that creates an enormously tense and dangerous, obviously, and high anxiety kind of situation.
Twitter and Facebook have penalized the U.S. president and his campaign just after Donald Trump claimed in posts that children are almost immune to the COVID-19. Facebook took down a video clip by President Trump saying that the post violated its policies around harmful COVID misinformation. The social media conglomerate said it's the first time it's removed a Trump post for coronavirus misinformation. Twitter also followed up, saying it's frozen a Trump campaign account until it removes a tweet of the same clip. The U.S. Public Health Advice has made it clear that children aren't immune to the novel coronavirus. It's now news review time. Do stay with us and we'll get going. Welcome to the news review. China has pledged to take strong countermeasures if the United States goes ahead with a plan to send a Secretary of Health to Taiwan. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin says any attempt to deny or challenge the One China principle will end up in failure. Now, the reaction followed the U.S. announcement that Alex Azar will lead a delegation to the South-Pole Island that China views as its own territory. Azar will be the most senior American official to travel to Taiwan in more than 40 years. The visit, which starts on Sunday, comes amid increasing tensions between Washington and Beijing over a spate of issues such as trade, Hong Kong, and the coronavirus pandemic. Now let's get an update and also some insight on this. So joining me will be Stephen Ribby, our correspondent in Beijing, and also Andrew K.P. Leung, International and Independent China Strategist, joining us out of Hong Kong. Now let's go to Beijing. Stephen, tell us about the mood in Beijing, and also if we know what those countermeasures that Beijing has threatened could be.
Well, America's support for Taiwan has always rankled with China. China has always been angry with the United States for its sales of weapons to Taiwan, which America has committed itself to in the 1979 Taiwan Relations Act that commits America to providing Taiwan with arms of a defensive nature. In the past, China has always kind of bitten its tongue and expressed its anger, but at the same time it has stopped taking measures, held back from taking measures, basically because its relationship with America is its most important relationship, and it was very anxious not to damage that relationship. Now, however, it feels that it doesn't have any choice. Its relationship with America is worsening, whatever. And not only that, but this latest visit, or this planned visit on Sunday, is quite a clear violation of the One China policy, which America committed itself to in a series of joint communiques with China under Presidents Nixon, Carter, and Reagan. They have governed the Taiwan half of China-US relations for about 40 years. Basically, what they mean is that America recognizes that there is only one China, that the government of that one China is in Beijing, and it will not have official relations with Taiwan. Now, a visit of such a high-ranking official to Taiwan is actually an official visit, and it's a clear violation of that one China policy which America committed itself to. What measures is China going to take? Well, that's interesting. It said it would sanction Lockheed Martin earlier this month after Lockheed Martin announced that it was going to sell more than $600 million of equipment to refurbish Taiwan's Patriot air missile defense system. But Lockheed Martin only has about 2% or less of its revenue from China, so it's not clear what those sanctions, which were not actually specified, and it's not clear whether they're actually go ahead. It has also threatened to sanction other U.S. defense contractors, including General Dynamics and Honeywell. But those sanctions were not specified and they never really materialized. But there is a difference this time. It is actually announcing countermeasures. In the past, it would not have done that out of fear of damaging its most important relationship, which is still with America.
Okay. Now let's turn to Hong Kong. Andrew, what's your assessment of the situation in Beijing and Washington? You know, there has been a host of issues that they have been actually this arguing about, and sometimes fighting over. We have trade, we have Hong Kong, we have the South China Sea, we have COVID-19 and Taiwan again and again. So do you expect this to spiral into some kind of escalation, or you would see light into the tunnel and easing of tensions?
could at least even add technology as well. I mean, with TikTok and Huawei and all that. But it's quite evident that the United States or the Trump administration is trying to provoke Beijing into some kind of a war, so that the President Trump can remain as a wartime president, regardless of his fortunes at the polls. But that's a very dangerous kind of step, because the war tends to escalate between these two big powers. Both are nuclear armed with missiles, intercontinental missiles. So I think that what probably you can see that there is a pushback almost every day on TikTok and on even China Mobile on the technology front, and also asking airlines to stop using the kind of apps, Chinese apps on all fronts. Headed with Taiwan, as you mentioned, Hong Kong and all that. It seems that a series of provocations. And I can read it as somehow with the presidential election coming up, and the Trump administration seems to be desperately trying to provoke China into a war so that Trump can remain as a wartime president. But as I said, the Taiwan, the one China policy is China's real bottom line before the war. Because, as mentioned before, China already enacted the Anti-Succession Act. And then for all these years, missiles have been aimed at Taiwan, at the West. And of course, if you look at the United States is thousands of miles away from Taiwan. And that the only kind of military force they can deploy is aircraft carrier groups. Apart from the fact that I feel that many groups are now disabled or under repair and whatnot because of the coronavirus pandemic.
Right.
There are two aircraft groups, but then they're subject to anti-access area denial and aircraft killing missiles from China. And of course, Taiwan would be very foolish to be the cannon fodder of a existential rivalry between the United States and Beijing.
Okay.
And then, of course, as I said, this is a subtle message from Beijing to the United States. Don't step over the brink.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. We have Stephen Rubey, our correspondent in Beijing, and Andrew K.P., leading international and independent China strategist, who joined us from Hong Kong. That's a wrap for this news bulletin. Goodbye.
Our voice comes from the heart of beautiful Iran. IRIB English Radio.